Welcome back to my channel, guys. It has been 3 months since we've last unboxed and reviewed the Anycubic Kobra 3 combo. I've put almost 250 hours of printing on this machine, so we're going to go ahead and take a deeper look and look at all the pros and cons of this printer and if you should still buy this printer today. Now, I also want to thank today's video sponsor, PCBway. This video would not have been possible without them, and I want to thank them for their continuous support throughout my YouTube journey. Now let's get back to the video. So what do I think about this printer after putting 250 hours worth of printing on it? I said this in my unboxing video and I'll say it again. I still think this is the best bang for your buck, multi-material, multicolor 3D printer that exists. This directly competes with printers like the Bambu Lab A1 and Creality's K1 as well. This printer prints really fast with amazing print quality, and for the price, you just can't beat it. So my very first big print on this printer was this Deadpool Mask. And as you can see, it turned out pretty amazing. This printed in just under 15 hours. I did print the eyes separately, so it was just the mask that it printed, but you can see that it turned out pretty great. I've done very little maintenance on this printer. All I've done was the initial setup, and it's just been printing and doing its own calibration since then. And it still gives me a really great print quality every single time. Now, while this was printing for the last 15 hours, I still had a couple of other projects that I needed my 3D printer for. But because I was printing this, I kept delaying and pushing those other projects aside. That's where PCBway came to save the day. I uploaded all of the STL files I needed to print to PCBway, and they've printed it for me and shipped it to my house. The shipping was incredibly fast and the print quality was amazing. This gives me more time to print cool and fun masks like this one, or anything else I want to do, like this retractable fishing rod. The project that I was working on was actually my IKEA pegboard. I was printing out some filament holder brackets to print that I can put onto my IKEA pegboard. The issue was I would have needed to print about 30 individual brackets, and that would have taken a ton of time on my printer, and that would leave me with no time to print cool, fun stuff like this Deadpool mask here. So by sending out all of those prints to PCBway, it gave me more time to spend creating some awesome, fun projects like this. PCBway is most commonly known for their custom PCBs. However, most people don't know that they actually offer 3D printing and CNC services as well. So if you are like me and only have one 3D printer to use right now, and you love printing awesome stuff like this, but also have other projects that require a lot of time, you can offload all of that work to PCBway so you can focus on doing what you love, creating awesome stuff at home. So how reliable has this printer been for me in the last 3 months that I've been using it? In the last 3 months, I'd say this is printed almost flawlessly about 95% of the time. There was that handful of times that I did have to go clean out a clog or fix something with the printer. Now, bear in mind, when that happened, I was using some fairly cheap filament. As soon as I switched over to using Polymaker's filament, using the Polyterra filament or the Polymaker PLA, all of those issues went away. So if you are planning on purchasing this printer, make sure you're using some high quality filament to go along with it as well. You hear that fan? That fan is always on, even when the printer is done printing. I've used the Bambu Lab A1s and the A1 minis, and those printers, once the print is done printing, the fan will turn off just to save a little bit of energy. This unfortunately stays on all the time. Now, hopefully this is something easy and quick that Anycubic can fix with a firmware update or something like that, but it's just a really small thing that kind of annoys me about the printer. Now, one thing I didn't realize when purchasing this printer is how important the desk that it's going to be sitting on is going to affect the print quality, especially when printing at those higher speeds. When I first unboxed it, I had this sitting in my office room upstairs on my autonomous L-shaped standing desk. I love that desk, however, it's not the sturdiest desk in the world. I recently moved the printer down into my garage and I have it sitting on the new FlexiSpot E7 Plus. This table is much sturdier than my previous table, and it directly impacted the print quality on this printer right here. If you are going to be putting it on a standing desk or something like that, I highly recommend you use the FlexiSpot standing desk, as they are super sturdy. You can see the difference in the bench sheet that was printed on my old desk versus the new desk here, and how important it is to have a really sturdy work area when using this printer. A lot of the issues that I had were actually fixed over the air by a firmware update from Anycubic. One issue I had was with how the Anycubic Ace Pro was feeding the filament into the printer. It felt a little jerky and it didn't feel smooth when I was changing and swapping out filaments. Luckily, Anycubic has released many firmware updates that addresses a lot of those issues and refines those as time goes on. So a lot of those issues that I initially had are not even issues anymore. Same thing with the hot end. Anycubic has changed the way that the hot end controls its temperature when taking pauses or breaks, to prevent a lot of those clogs and prevent a lot of stringing that may happen while printing. Now let's talk about the Anycubic Slicer. This slicer isn't going to win any gold medals. However, it does work, and it works good. If you're just printing any STL files, or if you're going to be printing any multicolor files and you want to paint them in the software, you can definitely do that. Exporting and doing a remote print to the printer works flawlessly. I've had no issues with that, and the workbench is really intuitive and really easy to look at as well. It's really easy to see how much longer you have, your controls for the printer. You can pause and play. You have a really nice camera with a really good view of what's printing. The camera on this printer is really good compared to the camera on, for example, the Bamboo Lab A1. It is much better. I'm really impressed with the camera that they put in here. I use it pretty much every day whenever I'm at work, or if I'm just lying in bed and I want to check on my print. I can open up the Anycubic Slicer app and check on my phone. One thing I love about the Anycubic app as well is when you're printing something, it'll actually give you a little widget on your phone that shows you the progress of what you're printing. I love having this, as it's just a really cool way to just take a quick glance at your phone and see the progress of how much you're printing. The Anycubic Slicer is really easy to use. However, if you want a little bit more control over what you're printing and your print settings, you want to use the Anycubic Slicer Beta. This slicer is based off of Orca, so it's similar to what you would use in like Bamboo Studio, for example. And I just find that you get a much higher level of control. There's more things you can do within this slicer than you can in the regular Anycubic Slicer. The one downside to this is it doesn't currently support remote printing yet. It is still in its beta form, so they haven't officially released this build yet. So until then, we're kind of stuck to just exporting the STLs and manually putting it on the printer, or switching back into the regular slicer and remote printing it from there. Now, if you guys are thinking about purchasing this printer, I highly recommend you do so. I still think this is the best bang for the buck 3D printer that you can get that supports multi-material printing, and it's just a really good value for how much you're going to spend. The print quality is amazing. The customer support is amazing. The speed that it prints at is incredibly fast for the quality that you're going to get out of these prints. You're going to get the standard build volume, so you can print all of your full-size helmets to any other miniatures you want to print as well. The multi-material system is great. It's the only multi-material printing system that actually dries your filament while it's printing. No other 3D printer will dry your filament while it's printing. So you don't need to worry about where you store your filament. You can leave it out in the open. You can keep it up on display like I do. And when it does come time to use it, you don't have to worry about the filament being brittle and breaking. Not only was this printer great when I first opened it, it's even better now. With Anycubic constantly coming out with firmware updates, this printer gets better the longer you have it for. A lot of the issues that I addressed about this printer can easily be fixed by a firmware update by Anycubic in the future. If you're talking about the hardware of the printer, I really don't have anything bad to say about it. The build quality is amazing, it feels really robust and really smooth while using it. If you guys are thinking about purchasing this printer, please use my affiliate link in the description below. It really helps me out as a creator, and it also will save you some money as well. Thank you to everyone that's made it this far into the video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave it in the comment section below and I'll make sure to answer to every single one of them. Thank you to all my subscribers, and if you're not subscribed already, please make sure you do so, as I'm going to be posting more 3D printing content as well as more DIY projects I do at home. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Take care.